keyframes, the unsung heroes of mind-blowing edits, the silent architects behind mesmerizing visual symphonies. You get the point. This course can take someone that doesn't know what editing is and transform them into a keyframe master. It doesn't matter what editing software you use, keyframes are essential regardless. They can be applied to videos, images, effects, text, adjustments, filters, audio, stickers, color grading. In this course, we will use CapCut for three main reasons. First, it does not require an insane hardware or PC. Second, it's completely free. Third, it is user-friendly and it has a really intuitive interface. Throughout this course, we'll dive deep into CapCut features, and by the end, you'll be able to leverage the power of keyframes like a pro. We'll cover everything from basic edits to advanced techniques, ensuring you're not just an editor, but a master at your craft. But wait, there's more. Enrolling in this course gives you access to my exclusive pack with over 500 sound effects, 25 overlays, and 20 glowing icons. It's the perfect starter kit for everyone that wants to start content creation. I'll be waiting for you inside. Before getting into the lesson, I would like to present to you the class project. For this class, the project is really simple. I'm going to ask you to create a short video of a length of around 10 to 15 seconds, whatever you prefer, where you recreate an animation with keyframes, and you can decide if you want to animate an image or use an effect to make stuff glow like you will see in the course. You can create a zoom in, a zoom out, an animation, a transition, some color correction, or you could even modify a text as you prefer, as I showed you in the video, or maybe by using different keyframes, maybe in glow. Unleash your creativity and surprise me. Once you're done, upload it as an MP4 on Google Drive, and then share the link of the Google Drive in the project gallery, and I will give you personalized feedback. And now, good learning. Welcome to the Keyframe Mastery course. In this course, you will learn absolutely everything about keyframes, which is a really useful skill because it not only affects CapCut, which is the software that we are going to use for this course, but every editing software out there. So, what will you learn in this specific lesson? In the first lesson, you will get a general understanding of what is a keyframe, the basics, how to add them, how to remove them. Then you will understand how to add keyframes to audios and to effects. That's because you can add keyframes to basically everything, from color grading to effects to text to everything basically. And in the first lesson, you're going to learn basics, effects, and audio. Let's start from the basics and let's go with what is a keyframe. The whole reason we use keyframes is to add more than one keyframe to our image. And let me show you what I mean by that. So right here I'm going to create a keyframe on position at the position 0, 0, so the center of the image. Then I move a bit forward and I add a keyframe to 500, 500. It automatically creates a keyframe because I already created one before in the image. And this is what happens. The ball moves from one keyframe to another, as you can see. I'll show you it again so you can look at the player right here that moves to the keyframe, and here it stops. Therefore, if you want this ball, for example, to score, you can move a bit further in the timeline, or for example, right here, and then we put the ball right here, and this is what's going to happen. And then we can go a bit forward again and just put the ball here, and then put the ball in the net. So this is the final result. Now this is just a basic idea of how to use keyframes, because this doesn't look that good, but it's still a way to move PNGs and images. And keyframes don't only exist for position, they also exist for any feature basically. For scale, for example, I could put a scale keyframe right here at 16, and at the end it's going to be 102, and the ball gets bigger slowly, as you can see. I could also use an opacity keyframe. I put a 0 here, keyframe, I go forward, keyframe 100, and as you can see it appears like that. You can also use keyframes for rotation, chroma key, as you can see. Even audios have keyframes. Everything has keyframes. You can also use keyframes for text and effects. Let's now learn how to put keyframes in audio. Well, it's fairly simple, to be honest. For example, let's say I have this song, which I believe should fade in, okay? But let's say that with the fade in button here, I only get this kind of effect, and I don't like it. What I can do is go at the start, place a keyframe, and put the volume to, let's say, 0. And then I go a bit forward, put a keyframe, and it gets to 24. And then it gets higher and higher until I get to 7. So what it does is creating this curve, as you can see, and when you hear it, it sounds like this. And the music fades in slowly. You can also do this in the middle of the track. Let's say I want to reduce the volume of the part before the drop. So what happens is I place a keyframe at the normal volume, then I go one frame forward and I place another keyframe. When I've placed the keyframe, I go around here where I want the volume to be at its lowest. I reduce it, it already places a keyframe automatically, and then I go forward and I put back my original volume. I'm going to space them a bit more. This is what you can hear in the end. As you can hear, the volume goes down and up once again. So that's how you use keyframes in audios. And now let's get on how to use keyframes in effects. So here's how you do it. Let's say, for example, I want to use the edge glow, and I'll put it to the max. But as you can see, it creates this effect that I don't like. I only want the edge glow to affect the ball. To do that, I have two ways. I can either put the edge glow directly on the ball, but what happens is I cannot use keyframes here. So what I will do is I will put the edge glow, apply all the keyframes that I want, and afterwards I will highlight both of them and create a compound clip. First, let's edit the effect. In order to do that, let's create, for example, the effect of a heartbeat, okay? So to get an heartbeat sound, I will go here on the audio panel and choose, for example, this one that I like, and I will add it to the timeline. As you can see, we have these things that help us to recognize where the heartbeat is happening. So let's go to the first one. So the heartbeat, it's twice here and here. To do this effect, it's pretty simple. We go at the start and we put a keyframe on the 0 on the edge glow. Then we go at the start of the heartbeat, we put a 0 keyframe, then we go one frame forward and we put a 100, so that the effect happens in the snap of a second. Now once the effect happens in a frame, we go forward until the heartbeat ends, we add another keyframe on 100, and then we go one keyframe forward and we add 0. Then we remove this opacity so that we can see the ball, and let's see how this looks like. As you can see, it's perfect. On the first beat of the heartbeat, it gets the light and then it disappears. To copy and paste the effect is pretty simple. You just, while holding Ctrl, you copy and paste. You copy all of them. You go right here at the start and you copy and paste them. And we do the same here. And after merging this together as a compound clip by clicking Alt-G or clicking Create Compound Clip, this is what it looks like. Of course, you can do this with a lot of stuff more than a ball moving in a weird way on a football field in 2 dimensions. This is just a way to give you an example. To summarize, in this lesson you learn the basics of keyframes, how to add them to audios, to make the audio smoother, and how to add them to the effects. In the next lessons, you're going to learn how to add them to color grading, use the graphs, create some intros, transitions. I'll see you there. This lesson is divided in 2 parts. In the first part, you will learn how to create a transition where the main character or the subject comes from the bottom. And in the second part, you will learn how to understand these graphs, use them, and all that good stuff. So let's get started. The first thing that I will do is remove this green screen behind him, and I will show you how you can use keyframes to create a pretty cool effect in my opinion. So let's get straight to it. I've imported some backgrounds from Leonardo AI that I've generated a while ago. I just wanted to show a cool transition that you can do when you have a character separated by your background, whatever the background is. And to do that, we go ahead and put the, in this case, Mr. Beast by your character below the image at the start. You hit a keyframe on everything, and then you go forward a bit when he starts speaking, and you put the keyframe of Mr. Beast upwards. This is what we have right now.
So what do you guys think? Sorry about the horrible audio quality.
We can add a whoosh sound effect. And as you can see, we have now a transition where Mr. Beast appears from the bottom.
So what do you guys think? Sorry about the...
Which is pretty good. Here we have a counter that goes up to 1,000,000. And you can use it over any video like this. You just click screen on the overlay mode and it is going to blend perfectly. But to show you properly, I will use it on a black screen. So let's get started. I'm going to start with a small scale and I'm going to end up with the maximum scale. But the problem is, if you look at this, it just goes constantly and it's not that good. So to change that, we right click on the clip, show keyframe animation. Once we have that, we click on scale so that it shows our keyframe animation. And as you can see, it is a straight line. Let's zoom in. As you can see, it is purely a straight line. And to change this, you can go over this in 3 ways. The first one is clicking on keyframes and clicking auto curve. With auto curve, as you can see, you will have a kind of a curve which basically speeds up the zoom in the middle of the clip and slows it at the ends. And this is how it looks like. Since we don't really like that because we want something that speeds up at the end, we are going to Control Z, so undo our auto curve. And now we can do 2 things. The first one being using graphs. You can use these pre-made graphs to help you, but I really suggest to go with the custom ones that you can create just by clicking here. And this is a free curve. How does this work? You get basically given this handle that by moving up or down, you basically choose how do you want your curve to be. As you can see, it's changing. And the way it works, it's honestly pretty simple. The line is basically a bunch of keyframes side by side, okay? This is a keyframe, this is a keyframe, this is a keyframe. And to understand their values, you can simply play the video. As you can see, it zooms out a little bit at the start and then zooms in at the end, okay? We want to remove the zoom in at the start, so what we're going to do is click free curve, and we're going to make sure that the line of keyframes goes above our keyframe. So by doing that, basically the scale here improves and then becomes static and then improves once again. Let's take a look. So as you can see, we have the line going above our initial keyframe, so this means it's going to zoom in, and then it became static, so it's not going to zoom in for a while, and then it zoom in at the end, all at the same time. So let's see if this actually works. Perfect. You saw that it goes fast at the start, and then slows down, and then restarts at the end. Another thing that you can do if you want to make the zoom even wider is, since you cannot move this handle more than 500, you can either use this arrow, type in a value, or simply move this keyframe upwards. Since I've gone up a lot here, I want to add another keyframe in the middle to help the effect, so I will click here, another free curve. After some final adjustments, we have a small counter at the start, it increases fast, then slowly grows, and then here it has kind of a jump, and then it slowly grows again. What I've also gonna add and done is adding an opacity keyframe here at 100 and here at 0, so that it slowly disappears. Let's see how this looks like. I'd say it's honestly perfect. So now we got the understanding of how to zoom with the graphs. To summarize, in this lesson you'll learn how to use this transition, how to use graphs, how do they work, and in the next video I will teach you a cool effect that I've used in the past that involves social media icons appearing and popping up, how to use keyframes on color grading and on text. I'll see you there. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to use keyframes on custom adjustment layers, filters, how to create this cool effect with the social media icons, and how to make a color changing text. Let's now use keyframes for color grading. To do that, it's pretty easy. We go on adjustment, we create an adjustment layer. An adjustment layer, to put it in simple words, changes every single stat of colors, brightness, and whatever that is under the adjustment layer. If, for example, I put the saturation to the max, if I move out of the adjustment layer, it doesn't affect. Below this, it does. That's how simple it is. And a cool way to use this is if, for example, if you're creating a meme that involves a black and white screen, you usually want to fade it. Usually you don't want something like this to happen, where it instantly becomes black and white, but you may want to fade it. And how do we do that? We go at the start of the adjustment layer, we click a keyframe on saturation, and then we go at the end and we click a keyframe with the lowest saturation. And as you can see, the video slowly becomes black and white. If you want to, you can also use the keyframe animations and the graphs right here as well. We can, for example, choose a pre-made graph, for example, in ease in 3. What this means is that at the start it remains pretty constant, and at the end it becomes black and white all of a sudden. As you can see right here, it becomes black and white only at the end. You can also readjust it to your preferences if you like. As a side note to color grading, I also want to let you know that there are different kind of filters that you can use, which are pre-made adjustment layers. And for example, there is this kind of black and white. And if you want to recreate the same kind of effect that we created earlier with that custom adjustment layer, all that you need to do is put the strength to the lowest. Then you go at the end and you put the strength to the max. And as you can see, it is going to slowly become black and white. And again, if you want, you can use the graph. That comes down to your personal preference. A quick side note, I'm not using stickers because the way keyframes work for stickers is the same as it works for images and videos, so it's useless to talk about them. And now let's move on to text. Let's type in, for example, Yehi, I don't know. And what we want to do maybe is create a rainbow text. What I mean by rainbow, I mean that it changes color constantly. So we could go at the start, we select white, for example, we hit a keyframe, then we go a bit forward and we create an orange. The keyframe automatically creates, then we do red, green, pink, and then it becomes white once again. So what's going to happen is this. As you can see, it shifts color. And if you want, you could copy all of these keyframes by holding Ctrl and then at the end hitting C. And then you can extend this as much as you want and then copy the keyframes. And you get a text that changes color constantly. Now that you know how to add keyframes to basically everything and how to make color text, I'm not going to bother you explaining how to use opacity keyframes and position keyframes on text again, because they work exactly the same in videos and images. The only thing that I'm going to tell you is that you can use keyframes on every kind of feature that you have right here in the text. So you could make a 0 thickness keyframe and here a 100 thickness keyframe, and that would result in a stroke that is creating like that. And of course, it doesn't apply only to stroke. You can use it on the background, you can use it on the glow, you can use it on the shadows, everything. Everything has a keyframe option right here, and you can use it on every option. This is an animation that I had created for a trailer for one of my courses, and it basically goes like this. There is my voiceover, that in this case doesn't matter, And then there are the icons of the social media popping up from the ground. And how do we do that? Well, it's fairly simple. To do that, we go at the start of every single image and we put the scale down to 0. We cannot go to 0, we'll take it to 1. But as you can see, no one can see the logo from normal distance, okay? You can also toggle down the opacity. Once you have done this, you choose a random icon. For example, I'll choose Twitter, and I'll make sure that Twitter is the first one to appear. So how do we do this? We put a keyframe on scale and opacity. Then we go a couple of frames forward. Let's do 3. And the opacity goes up to 100. And then we go a bit more forward and the scale goes up to, I'd say, around 14. And then we slow it down and we put a keyframe on 10. And then we go another couple of frames forward and we reduce the scale. So this is what we get. As you can see, the icon becomes bigger and then becomes smaller. Nice. And we're going to do this for every single icon that we have. So we go on the last keyframe and we put, for example, the Instagram logo here. Then we copy and paste all the keyframes. We go on Instagram, we paste, and then we do the same thing. Once you have done this to all of them, we align them to the same length. Looks decent, but we want to improve this even more. And to do that, I'll go on audio and search for a pop sound effect. And there we have our pop. And this is the final result, which makes this perfect. To summarize, in this lesson you have learned how to use keyframes on custom adjustment layers, filters, and text. You have also learned how to do this cool effect with the icons popping up. Therefore, I wish you a good editing. Welcome to the last lesson of the course. I will now show you 3 practical examples to use keyframes. 2 of them will be memes, and 1 of them will be how to use keyframes to track text onto objects. Let's get straight into it. Let's start with the first meme. First, let me explain what it is. It is basically a small clip of someone strip mining in Minecraft. What it means, put it in simple words, is that someone is looking for a specific resource called diamonds, and they want to implement it with a meme that is pretty famous. That is this meme, which is Keep Gambling. It is an advertising campaign created by casinos, which symbolizes that you stop right before finding the diamonds or winning at the casinos in this example. And they want to show a clip of someone mining, and then he remembers about this, therefore he comes back and keeps mining. To do that, I will use a sound effect of a hold bell, found this on YouTube, free sound effect, and then this image, which I've explained. I will also use keyframes regarding opacity. To make this effect good, I will start by making the clip smaller because I don't want it to fit too much space on the screen. And now we'll go at the start, hit an opacity keyframe at around 90, and then move towards the end. I think this is a good spot. And put the opacity to 0, and a keyframe is going to automatically create. Then I make the clip smaller because it is useless to have a clip that is longer than his 0 opacity keyframe, because 0 opacity means you can't see it. And I will replay it from the start. As you can see, he's mining, then he turns like he's done. And then he remembers about this and goes back. I think the keyframes are too far together, so I'll put it right where the sound effect ends. Close it, and let's see how this looks. Way better. Right here it happens once again, the turn. And here, in this exact moment when it turns once again, I want to copy and paste this effect once more. And let's see how this looks overall. Perfect, perfect. Then we have a bad cut here. As you can see, from this frame to this other one, almost everything changes, even the light. So we cannot leave it like that because it's not good looking. So I will slap a meme from SpongeBob because everyone loves SpongeBob. Reduce its volume, and this is how it looks like.
1 hour later.
Which is perfect. And now we add the other 2 clips that we have to change a bit the clips that will happen. So before it was the fear of leaving the resources that I wanted behind, and here it's more, remembering about the dream that I could leave. So I put an opacity keyframe from 90 to 0, and I do the same on this other clip. And then I'll go ahead and sync them. Now let's see how this looks like. Perfect. And now let's go over a really popular meme, which is the to be continued. To put this into short terms, this streamer basically died in 2.8 seconds in Minecraft, so I thought it would be cool to make a to be continued meme. So basically the meme goes like this. And we have to make sure to sync the drop of the music, of course. So let's go ahead and do that. I will now put a phrase here on the frame where it dies. This is what we have now. All that I needed to do was simply syncing the clip. Here's where keyframes become useful. You go right here in filters. You could also do this with adjustments, but I believe that with filters is better. I will go and choose black and white 3, as I believe it fits well with the to be continued beam. I will go right here before it happens, and here the strength of the filter must be 100 because that's when everything happens. We go right here, halfway of the first part of the clip, and we pull the strength of the filter down to 0. And then we open the graph, and we make sure that most of the black and white happens in the end. I've chosen an he's out 3. Let's see how this looks. I don't really like it. I'd rather almost everything happening in the end. So I will do something like this. And let's see how this looks like. I'd say this is honestly really smooth, and almost everything happens right here, which is where to be continued screen happens. So I'd honestly say it's really, really good. Let's look at it one more time. Perfect. Now let's go with text tracking. I've chosen a clip from a content creator from Skillshare, which is Lams, and I will make sure that the text follows his left hand, okay? Which during the clip moves a lot, as you can see. We have to make sure that the clip follows his hand throughout the whole duration. How do we do that? So the first thing that I don't want you to do is use the tracking function. As you can see, I've put an example here. So I've gone ahead and choose tracking, motion tracking, both directions, scale, and the distance. And I've chosen the left hand of the subject in this case. But as you can see, the tracking is horrible. It doesn't follow the left hand, even though I've chosen it. So how do we do this better? We go at the start of the image, we put the text right where the end is, with the scale that we want. Then we scroll down on the basic settings of the text, and we click on scale and position keyframes. Then we go one frame forward, and his hand didn't move, so we go another keyframe forward. It did move a bit, so we move it simply, and the keyframe automatically creates. We do it once again, once again, once again, and we simply keep going. Here I might want to make the text a bit bigger since his hand got bigger. We keep going frame by frame and changing the position of the text so that it is aligned with the hand. Since keyframes automatically create, this is not really a hard job at all. And here is the final result. As you can see, the text is completely attached to the end. There is a couple of frames where I don't like the text, as I think it becomes either too big or too small. And let's see them. I think here it loses a bit. So let's go back in the keyframes and let's put it a bit further. There we go. Let's see how this looks now. Start looks better, but as you saw here, it loses a bit. There we go. This is the point where it loses. So we just track it better. Here we change it as well. We have one part right here where it kind of leaves the front part of the end. And it's perfect now, as you can clearly see. And now if you want, you can customize this text. Let's say, for example, I want a text on a white background, slightly rounded on the edges. We add a black stroke right here, and we make the thickness pretty high. I don't really like to add a glow. I'll add a shadow here with around 69 opacity. I want to put the blurriness down so that you can see it better. And then I'll add a 0 angle so that the shadow goes backwards. We cannot add any curve because the text has a background, but I don't really like curves anyway. Look at what happens with a curve. Looks pretty ugly, doesn't it? So I'll just add my background, and this is the final result. To sum everything up, what have you learned in this lesson? You have learned how to add opacity keyframes on memes, how to add opacity keyframes to filters, to create other kind of memes with filters and black and white, like the famous to be continued meme. Then you have learned how to properly track text and not use this motion tracking feature that I'll replay once again. It is pretty bad. Therefore, you'll know how to track text properly. You also reinforced how to use graphs on every kind of keyframe. And now you are finally ready to go on your own content creation journey, create whatever kind of videos that you want, whether they're gaming videos with memes, whether they're only memes, whether they're vlogs, to zoom in, zoom out, use filters, opacity, to track text with keyframes, positions, and all that kind of good stuff. If you found this course helpful, feel free to leave a positive review. If you found some flaws in this course, make sure to let me know as well so that I can fix them and get back with updated lessons on this course. And now, I wish you a good editing. Congratulations on finishing this course. I just want you to know that now you're really good at CapCut. If you've watched the whole course, this means that you have enjoyed this course. And that's why I want to let you know that I have also another 2 courses that you can see on screen, which are on CapCut. One is a complete full walkthrough, a beginner guide, and I also have an amazing, extremely advanced masterclass where we'll talk about 3D and all of that cool stuff. Now, before you move on one of those amazing courses as well, it would really mean the world if you could leave a review to let me know what was good about this course and if there is something that I could have improved. So feel free to do that, and I wish you an amazing learning.